Welcome to our podcast conversation. Today, we're diving into the fascinating legacy of Atlanta's historic Crystal Palace Barbershop, a place linked to the remarkable journey of Alonzo Herndon, Atlanta's first black millionaire who, despite surviving a brutal era riddled with racial massacre, built a shining legacy.
I'm really excited about this. It's incredible, huh? How someone born into slavery and facing such oppression managed to not only survive, but thrive and make history.
Absolutely. So here's the deal. Herndon's story is it's like a phoenix rising from ashes. Born in 1858 as a slave and then stepping into freedom with just $11 and 1 year of schooling, he really embodies resilience and determination.
Right. That leap from nearly nothing to being a millionaire is just astounding. And the fact that his barbershop, the Crystal Palace, stands as a kind of landmark, a symbol of black enterprise and survival, gives it even more depth.
Exactly. It's not just a business, it was a sanctuary during incredibly turbulent times. It reminds us how community spaces can be a force for empowerment. Think about it, a barbershop that not only offered a service, but also became a sort of informal chamber for discussion, heritage, and strategy in the face of racial terror.
Yep. And it also highlights how important these cultural hubs were. It's like you walk into a barber shop and you're not just getting a trim, you're connecting to a whole network of history and survival logic.
Oh, indeed. And there's that underlying narrative of overcoming. Herndon didn't just stop with entrepreneurship. In the backdrop of racial massacres that he lived through, his life was a testament to how adversity can be transformed into a platform for significant economic and social progress.
Sure, but don't you think some might argue that framing the story solely as triumphant might gloss over the deep scars of racial violence? I mean, there were like brutally painful moments in history that linger in the collective memory, right?
That's a good point. I mean, yes, it's definitely not a fairy tale. It's more of a gritty, real life saga of
Yeah,
survival. And it's important to acknowledge both the hardship and the explosive will to succeed. It makes the story even more layered.
right on. Kind of like using the very adversity as fuel for building something new. And isn't it fascinating how the barbershop, much like many community institutions, became a kind of, let's say, safe harbor where ideas and dreams could flourish even in dark times?
Exactly. And think about how even today, barbershops in many Black communities still serve as hubs for conversation, activism, and culture exchange. Herndon's Crystal Palace is practically a prototype for that legacy.
That really rings true. There's a kind of continuum from that historical barbershop to modern day spaces that nurture community resilience and empowerment. I mean, isn't it wild to think that a humble barbershop could later echo through generations as a symbol of hope and achievement?
Yeah, it's part of a narrative that challenges the conventional timelines of history. You see, Herndon's story brings up both the success of Black entrepreneurship and the shadow of racial violence. It's a bittersweet reminder that economic progress was earned against awesome odds.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because when I read the discussions around these historical recounts, I notice there's been some mixed opinions online. Some comments try to shift the focus away from race and try to bring in alternative historical views.
Yes, I saw that too. There are people who um, sometimes say things like, let's not dwell on race issues or invoke biblical histories instead. It's a reminder of how contested our history can be. And it shows how important it is to faithfully preserve these stories with all their complexities and contradictions.
I totally get that, although I have to say, shifting away from the racial elements might risk sanitizing history. After all, isn't it critical to face and understand these structural challenges to appreciate the hurdles Herndon and countless others overcame?
Precisely. And it's like sometimes we have to respectfully challenge those who try to rewrite or oversimplify these narratives. Herndon's journey from slavery to becoming a millionaire isn't just about personal ambition, It's a commentary on the systemic barriers and the incredible fortitude required to cross them.
Yeah, it also reminds us, a bit like a cautionary tale, that success often comes after facing and dismantling layered atrocities, and that such achievements are even more meaningful in the face of such adversity.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, the Crystal Palace stands as a sort of monument to that determination. It's like a living museum of struggle
Yeah,
and triumph. It's almost poetic in its symbolism.
poetic indeed. And beyond the historical narrative, it makes you reflect on how these lived experiences shape community identity. Kind of like when you think of a legendary local diner or a classic barbershop, they transcend being mere businesses. They become repositories of shared culture.
For sure. And what's more, it forces us to confront how music, art, conversation in spaces like these sparked broader movements. It's like the birthplace of ideas and resistance.
Totally. And looking at modern media, you see these historical markers being revisited and reinterpreted by new generations, which is awesome because it reaffirms their relevance in today's world, especially with all the ongoing conversations about race and social justice.
Oh, definitely. And it's interesting how this particular article blends historical facts with current social commentary, prompting readers to maybe re examine accepted narratives and engage with the discomfort that comes with that sort of reflection.
Yeah, it challenges us to confront history in its entirety, not just the success stories, but also the sorrow and pleas for justice that accompany them. In many ways, these barbershops still echo the voices of those who marched on in spite of pain.
Exactly. And I mean, there's also an element of community validation in the way people honor these places. Even amidst online debates, the respect for Herndon's journey and the legacy of the Crystal Palace remains powerful. It's almost a
Um,
call to continue uplifting Black narratives in spaces where they've historically been marginalized.
One thing I find particularly intriguing is how these spaces, like the barbershop, functioned as centers of information sharing and mutual support, much like informal universities. What do you think of that analogy?
I love that analogy. It's like a grassroots college where you learn not from textbooks but from real lived experiences. This Crystal Palace wasn't just about haircuts, it was a safe zone where strategies for survival and success were passed down.
And yeah, those environments are invaluable. They give us a window into the creative ways people have historically navigated oppression, which just further elevates the importance of preserving such landmarks in our memory.
Exactly. And it's also a reminder that while today's challenges might differ in form, the spirit of community resilience is an enduring human trait. You see that echoed in modern discussions on social justice and empowerment.
Very true. It's astonishing to me how a single location like a barbershop can encapsulate so many layers of history, struggle, and achievement, and how it continues to serve as a symbol in our ongoing dialogue about race and progress.
Yeah, and speaking of dialogue, I found it interesting that some of the online comments, while often unhelpful, actually illuminate the spectrum of opinions on how we should interpret these histories. It's like um, the conversation is always evolving, and every comment, even if controversial, forces us to
Right,
examine our biases a bit.
exactly. Though I must say, while controversial views might make for an interesting spectacle, they can sometimes derail the gravitas of history if not handled with care. It's a delicate balance.
For sure, and respecting that balance is key. And the narrative of Herndon and his barbershop not only celebrates triumph, but also serves as a corrective lens to our collective memory, highlighting both achievements and the systemic injustices behind them.
Absolutely. And that corrective lens is so essential in building a future where everyone's contributions, especially from marginalized communities, are recognized, right?
Exactly. It's like layers upon layers, historical context, personal grit, communal support, and it all stacks up to paint a full picture, and a picture that demands we learn from the past to build a more
Um,
inclusive future.
I love that perspective. It's so expansive, yet so personal. And it reminds us that behind every monument, every landmark, there's a human story of struggle, hope, and relentless determination.
right? And while the details might sometimes be messy or evoke heated debate, the core message stays incredibly relevant today. Our shared history is not just about where we came from, but about how we forge ahead together.
Yes, and it's intriguing how these historical narratives continue to spark diverse conversations, some uplifting, some challenging, but all pushing us to reevaluate our present and future.
Exactly. And as we wrap up, I think the takeaway here is about celebrating resilience while staying critically engaged with every twist of that journey. The Crystal Palace Barbershop and Herndon's legacy are enduring reminders of that dual path of hardship and hope.
Absolutely, it's a story that continues to resonate and inspire. Thanks for the engaging chat. Here's to remembering and learning from every facet of our past.